You may never have realised, but in the centre of Oxford sits a castle that dates from the 11th century. Sam Pace is the operations manager here, and she explains the difficulties involved with attracting visitors to the castle.
Well, I think the biggest challenge that the site has faced in becoming a tourist attraction is that it was designed to be a prison and a castle. So for nearly 1,000 years, it was keeping people in or keeping people out. And then about 10 years ago, we opened up our doors for the first time to the public and said, come on in and have a look around. So if you've lived in Oxford for perhaps 30 or 40 years, you've literally walked past a site that is saying, do not come in. And then one day you got out of bed and all of a sudden you come around and look around. So physically, as a physical profile, it's been quite challenging to make it a tourist destination. Once you're over that kind of obstacle, there are very few challenges because actually the site has such a rich history and it has such a place within the city that people just can't wait to get here and have a look around.
With sections of the castle standing for almost 1,000 years, it is perhaps not surprising that the castle's history is closely linked with one of Oxford's oldest and most famous exports, education.
One of my favourite characters from the Oxford Castle's history is Geoffrey of Monmouth. He was a Welsh cleric that lived here early to mid 12th century. And he's recorded as being a magister, which actually means a teacher. So we know that he was teaching young men and boys here in Oxford long before any of the colleges were founded, which is very exciting because what that shows us is that the site, Oxford Castle as a site, not only physically begins the story of Oxford, but it also really informs Oxford identity as, that kind of beacon of education in the country. So it's really exciting. Interestingly, Geoffrey of Monmouth also wrote the history of the kings of England, which is the first time we start to see the legends of King Arthur being documented. So really the birth of legends at Oxford Castle.
For a few of the more unruly alumni of Oxford's esteemed university, the connection between castle and college might have been a little closer than they would have liked.
When the colleges were first founded, our first prisoners here were actually students of Oxford University who perhaps had not got their homework in on time or were a bit drunk, and then they were sent to prison. And they paid for the privilege of being here as well, which was an extra punishment, I'm sure.
Thankfully, the castle's relationship with the students and inhabitants of Oxford are now much more cordial. Fraser Kay, that's Oxford News.